All right, welcome back. Today I'm going to be starting the video series I don't know how many videos it's going to be, but how to assemble the buildable concrete box girder bridge. What I've got now is got the LR1600 set up. It's set up with a heavy boom. So you got the boom on the front and the derrick boom. I've got a 28 line double block hook and then a 4 line 3 sheave hook. The 3 sheave hook, I'll be using that to set up the piers themselves and the abutment. And then the big hook I will be using for lifting the full span. Um, so without further ado, let me go in and show you guys what we've got. So you go into the store, go to tools, and you will find a buildable bridge section. You'll have the concrete pier, and so this is just 2 lane right now. They're going to be expanded in the future. I just had to get all the functionality working. Got the concrete pier, concrete abutment. I got a little generator, and that's to be used to help assemble. Um, you got a single box beam if you would just want to have just movement of that. Then you have a full span set for each. So you've got a straight, a 14-meter curve, 15-meter radius curve, 20-meter, 30-meter, 33, 45, 50, 60, 80, 90, 155-meter curve radius, 230, and 360. And so each one of these has 12 sections in it because they're each about 3 meters long. And so then you can join them together and you have a full span. Um, you cannot, I mean, you could lift it and assemble it that way, but what you'll notice is due to farm sim physics, the bridge will sag, not the way it should be. And so once you assemble these sections, I've also made a single span as a single whole piece. And with this, you have all of the different radiuses that you have before. If you just need to go to the other direction, you just assemble it the other side. Okay, so that's what we've got. So first, let's get a concrete pier, or the pier itself. Shackles. No, that's not shackles. That's okay. So about that. So this is what the uh, abutment looks like prior to assembly or prior to pushing it. So with this, you have a transport. Hold on. Let me go back. So with this pier, all you have inside the store is color selections. With the abutment, you have a design selection, and that's to select whether you want it to be for transport, so you can lift it fairly easily with a crane, put it on a truck, and transport it where you need to. Um, or you've got stationary. Stationary means this is the position that I want it to be in for the bridge. When you set it to stationary, it increases the mass. As you can see, it's now 10,000 tons versus 15.3. So it increases in mass to help keep the bridge stable. Uh, so we're going to start off with it in transport. We'll buy that. And there we go. I guess I'll go ahead and get a generator. All right. So these, um, you'll be able to lift them with a crane. You'll see the little green arrows, and you can assemble them just like you're going to do with the big single span. Um, with these smaller ones, it's good to use with any of them. It's good practice to use a spreader bar. Um, and so I'm gonna go get a spreader bar before we get the full span, because we'll do. These are fairly simple to assemble. You just lift it in place, hit attach, detach the crane from it, and move on. assembling the whole thing is can be difficult. All right, so I got my load spreader. With this, you're looking at about 5 or 6 meter width for the spreader width, and then you're looking at about 25 meter length to get the entire attach. You're going to want to get 8 load supports, and then obviously color is up to you. So let me buy that. Okay, so I'm going to get the big span here in a little bit, but first we'll talk about first we'll go over the abutment because I'll move that into position. I'll use the crane to get it into position. So raise the ballast on the back, ballast tray. All right. So for this, you'll need to attach to the upper attachment point. The lower one is for a tool, which is not yet built yet. So so I'll adjust those. They moved. Okay, yeah, I'll adjust those so it looks right. So what we're gonna do, lift it up. Swing. Swing it out this way. This is where I want the bridge to start, so I'm going to lower this down. And the model will go below the ground, and that's on purpose because if you have it up against the side of a cliff or something, you still want to have it. You want to have it look good and have the model look like it actually belongs there. Okay, so there. So now we're going to get out of the crane. So this is where we want it. You'll notice there are a lot of IC nodes, but since this is where we want it, we're going to come up and use the mobile workshop, change its configuration to stationary. And you'll notice that now it's rocked back, and that's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to use these. So you can see you have in your F1 menu, each one of these corresponds to a % slope. And that since these are on this side, it is pertaining to the ramp. Okay, so I think with this, to get it flat and level again, we do the 15% slope, and you notice all the other slopes went away. That's because if you click an IC node with this bridge, you have to deselect it and select the 0 before, and then deselect it again before any of the other nodes will appear. And I've had to do that to make sure that sometimes you will accidentally click more than one, and so if you have more than one clicked, you're going to screw up your bridge. So with this, it hides all the other ones so that you know you cannot click them until you deselect this one, click and deselect this one to bring them back up. And that's going to be most of these IC nodes. Okay. So these IC nodes here is going to be the slope of the bridge. So you can go from, I think there's a 15% slope, it just goes below the road. 15% slope down, up to 15% slope up. Okay. For this, I'll just show you 50% slope. Okay, that's wrong direction. So let me get, I will adjust that. So let me get 15% slope up, and there we go. Now you might just be like, okay, well, where do I put the pier? What you need to do is you need to come up here and click the show next pier, right? And then you'll see this green ghost appear, right? And it's going to show you where the pier needs to go. So the pier needs to be placed within here, and then you can see the little road when we're over here. It needs to you need to get it pretty level with the top there, okay? But what if you have a curved road? That's what these are for, okay? So you can do any one of your radiuses from 14 meters all the way to straight, and the center one, center of the next pier, that will give you a center line. When you have the pier set up, all you gotta do is come here and hide it. If you have a really steep cliff and this isn't covering all of it, you can, not that one, add a wall, and it'll add a physical wall underneath. It's just a mesh, so you can crash it. It won't crash into any terrain or anything like that, so it'll just go right through it. But it'll also should also have little wings on it, if I remember correctly. And so with that, you can adjust those when you have it attached with a crane. So, all right. So here we've got the road again. So let's get back in the crane, and we are. All right. So you can see where the top of those shackles are. That's about the same height that you want to be where that road goes. I need to put a little indicator so that you can see where you need to level it with. If you need to, you can change the height. So if you need a really, really short pier, you can do a really, really short pier. So if you just have something really small, like a little creek you're getting over, or it will go all the way out to, if I remember correctly, 55 meters. Okay, so you have plenty of options and plenty of choices for how high you need this to go. All right, so now we can move in position. pretty close right in there, just like that. So I need to raise up, make it even shorter, just make it really short, get the top lined up. So just about there. See, it's just a little bit below the edge there. Okay, so now that's the correct height. So now I can slowly lower this back to where it just touches, just like that. Now I can detach it, okay? So now it's in the right position for the lift there, all right? So now what we can do, we can come over here. I'm gonna cut off the ghost here. So cut off the ghost because we know it's in the right position. And then what's going to be useful is to have a lift of some sort. So you can use the man basket that I made for the cranes. You could use a little boom lift, something. I'm going to use flight mode. So I'm going to get up high. And you'll know, oh, we got in close. And now we have a lot of IC nodes. Okay. So you've got to build the pier. You also have to add a platform. So what you can do is you build the pier, and the concrete former turns into concrete. If you want to, you can. It should have a platform, which has collisions and allows you to stop there. I'll get that corrected. But then you have all of these. So these nodes here control this side, or this half of the top of the pier. These nodes control the pitch of this half of the pier. And so we're coming up at a 15% slope. So we need to come here and select the 15% slope. Okay, so now this should match this down here. So we're gonna come over here, turn that back on, and look, and it is pretty darn close. Right, that's close enough for the bridge to work. It could be a little bit lower, but with the tolerances we've got here, that should be okay. All right, so I'm gonna go back, cut this off. Okay. So then, so you notice, just like the abutment, you clicked the IC node. All the other ones except for the 0 or the reset basically disappeared. Okay. Then we have the other side. So this I'm going to leave just nice and level because for just demonstration purposes it's okay. But if I wanted to keep the 50% slope going, I could select the slope here. That's 14%. There's 15%. And you notice they match up, and we're good, right? But I'm going to bring it back to level, and that's how we're going to stay. If you are doing a curve, right, you're going to need super elevation. That's what these are for. These are sort of roll the top of the pier left or right. And you've got from 0% super elevation all the way to 12%. So you can do it. We may, if so far we haven't tested too much with it, so it should work. If you try it out and something's looking a little bit weird, let us know and we can relook at some stuff. Okay. All right. So you've got a 36-meter span here, but you're like, hey, I don't want a bridge that short. I want something longer. So where do I put the next pier? So what you need to do is you need to go up to the base of the pier. On either side, you'll find down at the bottom a show next pier IC node. And as you can see, there's one on this side as well. So all you got to do is click that, and now it's showing the next pier, right? If you go up higher, you can see that it has the roadway as well, right? But what if when you click that, the pier's showing over there instead of where you need to? Well, all you got to do is go to the opposite side of the pier. These are a little finicky sometimes, probably because I'm flying. Click the center next pier, and now it'll show up on the opposite, on the side that you're facing. So if I click the center next pier here, it should show up over there. So I'm going to come back over here, here, center next pier here, and now we have it. Just making sure I deselected that one. Okay, good. And if you wanted to start the curve from here, that's what all these little nodes are for. So you can set the radius of the curve that you're going to lift, and that'll give you your next bridge or your next pier. And then you basically just keep on going from here. So next thing we've got to do is I'm going to hide the next pier because that's not something we're going to be doing. So there we go. Next thing we need to do is actually lift up our little generator up to the top so we can attach to here, because this is going to be important for sequencing, because one parent can have many children, but one child can only have one parent. So if you lower the bridge here and you use the crane to attach it, both of these are now children of the bridge span, right? But what we need it to be is we need this pier to be a parent of that bridge span. So this little generator, all it is a little vehicle that you can tab to. So see, you can tab to it. And there you go. You can see we got it pretty close. You can see it's off to that side there. So we're going to drop it down a little bit more. Now we can attach. You see it looks a little bit weird. That's okay. We can drop the generator. And now the generator is attached there, right? So now we can go there, and you can see in the upper left-hand corner that the generator is attached. So you've got the pier and the generator, right? Okay, so now that we have this set up, next thing we need to do is we need to get our main hook down to lift the spreader. All right, so we're in place for the spreader bar, so we can attach it, and it's swinging a little bit just because the hook wasn't straight. That's okay. All right, so now we can lift this up. All right. So these attachment points, the outer ones are going to have to be pretty far forward. And then these middle ones should be just about, I think, where this crossbar is, if not a little bit closer. And once we set it up, once we get attached to the beam, we'll check and adjust it again. So, all right. So now I'm going to get this lifted up out of the way. All right, so now let's buy the span. So we've got a straight section, so we need a straight section. I'm gonna get the material. Okay, so obviously, so with this, one thing that you're gonna need to keep in mind, this full span weighs over 435,000 kilograms, okay? So if we go to our lift chart, so this is I've got the 42 meter boom on, okay? So I got 42 meter boom on. So so we can lift 435, so we can pretty much go out to 18 meters away from the center line of the crane with this boom, and we can go up to roughly 42 meters in height. Right. If we go all the way out to 18 meters, you can see it's the darker orangish yellow color. So we need between 250,000 to 350, or 250 to 350 metric tons of ballast. Okay. So spreader bar is parallel with the load. I'm going to lower this down. All right, so right there we're getting the attach prompt. I'm going to lower it just a little bit more. I'm going to lower my ballast tray, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of the crane, go add ballast. Okay, so we need 250 to 350. So let's go for 200. Sorry, 300. So this ballast, the center ballast tray weighs 5 metric tons. The bottom one also weighs 5 metric tons. So we need to get, so I'm going to get, so that's 100 metric tons of ballast there. That means we need 200 around the outside. Actually 190. So that's 180, 200. Okay, that's the closest we'll get. So that's 200 metric tons there. So that's the ballast that we've got on the derrick, or the ballast tray. So now we should be able to attach. Nice. You notice the bridge span jumped up, but the crane was nice and nice and level. Okay. Looks like I've got my attacher points wrong for that. Hold on, I'm going to get that corrected.